Hi, okay guys, today we talk about Ledger Recover. There's been a lot of panic, I'd say, around this feature, mostly because people were surprised that it was even possible, and that it may imply that your device is not as safe as you expect it to be. So what's that feature, and why is it causing so much panic? The Ledger sells a device. This company Ledger sells a device. Well, there are three devices. There's a Nano, Nano S, Nano S, Nano S Plus, X, and then um, Ledger Stacks incoming. And all these devices have one single purpose, which is to store your secret keys, and they are therefore hardware wallets. And the premise that they had was that they use a secure element, which is a chip that is uh, designed to be inaccessible from the outside, just like the chip that you have in your credit card. So that special chip is highly secure. They say it's military grade, which means that even with the best equipment, a hacker would not be able to extract the secret keys that are stored in the secure chip. And what they were saying was that because your keys are in this chip, nobody would be able to get your keys, including Ledger, the company itself. At one point, they tweeted that even if they upgrade the firmware, they would still be incapable of retrieving the seed phrase. But now they offer this service called Ledger Recover, which basically allows you to get three shards, three pieces of your seed phrase. So the seed phrase would be split in three parts, and then that these pieces would be uploaded, would be given to three different custodians. In case you lose your seed, you would be able to contact these custodians and then reclaim your seed phrase by assembling these pieces together. So regardless of actually the technicality behind the creation of these shards and how they are stored, the question is that how is that even possible? How is it possible that right now, after you were said that Ledger does not have the ability to extract your seed phrase, they suddenly are able to split that seed phrase into three and get it out of the secure element. So that's extremely fishy. It's extremely suspicious. So these two statements cannot be true at the same time. If you say that you can't get a seed phrase out, and then suddenly you say that, well, you can get three pieces, you can split the seed phrase into three, and then get it out, it's basically the same thing. So were they lying? Was it intentional? The one thing is for sure is that what they said in the past is false. It was always possible for them to push a firmware upgrade that will extract your seed phrase. And I don't know who said that it was impossible from the Ledger, who tweeted that, but that was a mistake. And the fact that that mistake was not caught by experts at the time and questioned is a bit surprising to me. I don't follow the Ledger Twitter, so I didn't know they said that until recently. But it's clearly it doesn't make sense. And any tech guy who knows how this stuff works should have raised reasonable doubts. Okay, so why is that impossible? Mainly because the secure element has to process your seed phrase. So the secure element is from a very high level point of view, your ledger is a box, And inside the box, you have two chips. One is the secure element, and the other one is the microcontroller. So we call the microcontroller, we put a circle. So this one is secure element, SE, put in capital. And the other one is my MCU. Just MCU. MCU sounds like maybe Marvel Universe. Okay, let's call it MC then. So the reason you have two chips is because the secure element, while it's the guy who's gonna run your application. It's the guy who's gonna run your the operating system and all the apps. And it runs one app at a time. So that's why you have to load the app. Once the app is loaded, it takes full control of the secure element, except that it doesn't have access to the memory associated with the operating system. So the secure element has different logical layers. At the bottom, you will have the OS, and then over that you have the applications. So the OS is where you have the crypto primitives, and that guy has access to everything. So he has access to your seed phrase. If you didn't have access to your seed phrase, there would be no way for your application to derive any keys. So something in there has to have the ability to read the seed phrase. But this is isolated from the app in the sense that the app will never have access to the original seed phrase. It has access to the seed phrase, the seed key derived at a particular path. So for example, if you are a Bitcoin application, you will be registered under coin number 0, and then you will have access to the key at derivation path M44 prime 0 prime. And every time you define an app, you have to contact Ledger and get associated with a particular coin. You cannot have a universal app that can read every coin, that support every coin. So that limits your surface exposure to a particular coin. If your app is rogue and the app is trying to steal from you, at least you would not be able to steal the entire crypto wallet. You will be only able to steal that particular coin. So it was always possible that if you push different firmware, that firmware which has access to the to everything could push out the seed phrase. And the only communication you have between the secure element and the outside is through this microcontroller. So the role of the microcontroller is basically port management. So it's even handling stuff like pushing buttons. So you have buttons. You have other things like USB. These things will be done by the outside. But the app themselves, it's all in the secure element. And again, it's over the operating system. So the way the bad stuff can happen is that you get firmware that is signed by Ledger, and this signature is important because there's a part of the secure element code that is not changeable. It's the bootloader. You have that for every device. You have a phone, it has a bootloader, it has a ROM, and it has applications. The bootloader is there to bootstrap the process of changing the firmware. So the bootloader will always check that the the firmware you try to install has the proper signature. If it doesn't have the signature from Ledger, that operating system change will be denied. But if Ledger signs the firmware, if the company is compromised, it will sign the firmware upgrade, and the bootloader will accept it. So you're only really protected as long as Ledger does not sign firmware that is compromised. So this is where the security is at risk. Well, let's say now that they do that, they go and then they decide that they want to export your secret key to some external server. The problem is that you will not really know that it's happening because the code for the firmware is closed source. Anything that has to deal with the secure element, this guy here, well, the secure element is under NDA, and the code will not be public. They will release the source code of the operating system, the stuff lower than that. But I think that this is too late. It's possible that the part under NDA contains something that has a backdoor. Okay, so let's say now it has a backdoor. What is possible is that when you use NAP and you make operating system code that seems to be unrelated, at the same time, something is sent out to the microcontroller. But even if that's the case, you would have to be using a compromised application on your PC. So there are multiple things that have to go wrong. You have to accept that Ledger, accept a firmware upgrade from Ledger that is compromised, and you also have to use a compromised Ledger Live desktop application. Then yes, in this case, it's possible that your Ledger will extract your keys. Will that happen? Well, obviously, I don't know. And so far, I don't think it's very, very likely that it happens. But this has always been there as a risk. It's only that because Ledger Recover provides this as an obvious service that now people are concerned. Okay, so what can you do if you don't want to have this risk? Can you go and get a device from a competitor? The point I think is that the risk is there for any device. If you go and you get a competitor device, but they could say that they have everything is open source. So everything is open source means that the firmware is open source. But open source doesn't mean that it's going to be reviewed very well. There are bugs in open source software that has been there for ages, and you have serious vulnerabilities that are discovered many years after they have been introduced. So open source doesn't necessarily mean that there's no backdoor, just that it just reduces the chance that an obvious backdoor will be introduced. The flip side of having open source is that you cannot have a secure element. Secure elements are all under NDA. So you can't have a secure element and also have open source. And in practice, there have been 3 major vulnerabilities with Trezor. All of them are require access to your device. So it means that you can't remotely steal the keys from somebody. You actually have to get a hold of their physical device and disassemble it and reverse, try to get the keys through physical extraction of the hardware. But because the hardware is not secure, that is possible. It is much more likely that it's possible because the Trezor uses commodity hardware, the hardware that you can buy in a store. The third option is to go and then actually buy the device that somebody else has built, like some other vendors. I think that the risk in that case is even higher because usually these devices are not well studied, and if they have vulnerabilities, I would say that they probably have. It's just that nobody considered it worthwhile to attack them. And maybe that if they get popular enough, well, they will be studied, they will be attacked, and then it will be too late. The coins will be gone. So my recommendation is, well, it's nothing new, so I don't really worry too much. What I do though is that I always use a passphrase, and I use a temporary passphrase, meaning that even if if somehow they extract my seed phrase, and somebody gets the full 24 words, it's still useless because they would just have access to like a decoy wallet that has just a little bit of money, but the real thing is under a passphrase, an additional passphrase that I have to enter every time, and that is temporary. Every time I unplug the device, the stuff is gone. Well, there's always also a chance that the firmware is smart enough, well, the compromised hardware is smart enough to also steal the passphrase when you input it. But again, that is impossible to cover every option, since at the end of the day, your device, your secure element is getting a hold of your true seed phrase to derive the actual keys to your account. So it's possible that at that moment they extract your keys and upload it somewhere. So another thing I do is I don't run Life. I just run my own apps. All right, so that's it. That is my take on the Ledger Recover incident, or and what you do is of course your choice. But I wanted to give my opinion about this because it seems to be a very heated debate now.